Recording has started. That's what that little beep was. So we are recording. So go ahead and turn into your March 17th AE form. Get going on that. Looks like we're having some people pop in. Hey, Colton. Good to see you. I'm going to take roll in just a second. Everything today is not objective, picking an answer. You have to type in your answers today and you get started on it. Each question, time.
I never. You love that.
It's probably going to come back up with this.
Oh, no. Oh, your point so deep. I know where else.
Okay, here's your map. You can open up your map. Hey, I need the conversation to stop right now. Open up your map. You've got your form in front of you. Your first question is, what are 3 resources that you can find in Mexico? Instead of picking, you're going to have to actually just look, and you can list 3 resources that you can find in Mexico. Looking at your map, which may be even easier, honestly. Look over there and see the kind of resources. Find the resources. Right there's Mexico. So you can see they've got all different kinds of resources. You just list 3 of them. You just tell me which 3.
What is it? Oh, come get it from me.
Yeah, no one's leaving. Stop. All the motion. So y'all get on that. I'm gonna take roll. Colton's here online, and I'll get the rest.
My computer never.
Restarted.
Already. So. Like her. Yeah. Ellen. Yeah, then we'll go next. I just don't feel like you got to look at the end of it where this is maybe one yours. This is certified. Well. He said, what's it called? Look it off. It's water, it's really weird something. Let's go come on. Yeah. It's about the time. I swear. I'm spoiled. Oh, wait, so.
Please stop talking.
Dang, I was quick.
Pass.
do run. Right, all the time. And I get some.
I'll have to look at it in a second. Do you know how to have this now?
Well, that's why I'll pay for you for some years. Okay.
Sure.
You love me.
Yeah. Did you redo anything from last week? All right. So,
When the year comes back up, it's back. Yeah. Well, no, love that. And that's what we're blue. I know. Right.
keep that thing turned away from me, it's up in the air.
Oh, I didn't.
Go.
There.
Whenever she gets right, you know.
I mean,
Maybe, and then-
my sister is blue. I swear, she said, let's see this phone. I was like, Brittany? Yes, I was like, oh, I was like, you should try it. I believe it. I was like, you should.
like, where's your email?
Classroom. So my phone kind of broke, so I can take it off the charger. But. Oh, no, it's not with it. I think I got the battery wrong. That's not good. Cause there's nothing my phone doesn't go in. It's all 100%. Oh, yeah. But I got the iPhone 6 with that make the I already got it. I was having dreams. I'm like 30. Easy. But something. Oh, okay. No. You can lay them in that little one.
Okay, guys, I'm fixing to get on the Guardian. I'm gonna shut down things that aren't on my assignment.
Bro, this is.
Jordan, I need you to stop talking. Right now. Thank you.
I don't know what to do.
Diamond.
Stop. Oh, yeah. What's the Kaplan?
Careful of what?
What's the Kaplan?
As long as you talk them in, the main thing I'm concerned about. I'm not gonna count off or, I mean, I gotta be able to know what word it is.
That's not bad. Roman and Howard.
Yeah, that's why I'm fixing, turn her into Mr. Howard and let him ponder.
Keep it long for 5 minutes, so. Oh, no, I know what she meant. She went to, the security at World Cup. That's the station first. That is she done. What? No. This is. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, that's. I said on top of it. But speaking of water, can I go fill my water bottle?
Not today or gets back.
I feel.
She's holding y'all up. And I just sent a message to Mr. Howard to let her know that she's roaming off.
Honestly.
Well, wherever she's at, she's not where she's supposed to be.
Told you we was gonna get cold.
Well, you were gone way too long.
I was gonna get some water. You drunk that much? Don't worry. I'm gonna go for fives today. Ain't gotta add to it. No, I'm just gonna have
Stop.
We don't want to hear either. Stop.
I don't want to hear either.
Quit. That's what I think you do. Okay. But did you say that last year? Was it right? When somebody had said that?
What?
When you were teaching type study, well, you did type study, bro. No, it's when bro, type study is way easier than this. Why you just couldn't keep doing that? Read. For the student.
No, it's always here. No.
Anyway, no, you ain't talking about bro, you.
Okay, DR,
Hey,
listen.
no.
Listen to me.
I'll take the root. No, that's man. Okay, but it's a bro. Eat that.
DR,
Huh.
when you're gone for more than 10 minutes, I send a note to the principals to let them know that you're not. Yeah, she was gone for almost 15. Listen, when you're gone that long, I send a note out to let them know that you're not back yet. That's what I'm telling you. That's what this is. I'm just letting you know.
So,
I'm letting you.
okay.
Be quiet. I'm letting you know so that you're not staying that long.
Yes. Here, we have this. Oh,
Now.
I know.
I'm not impatient. Please.
So Mitchell sent an email asking us to split her classes, but she sent it to you instead of you.
Okay.
Oh, smash it. I'm just in there with them right now.
Okay.
I mean-
Just like if you-
You want to take a second,
We don't.
third,
Tomorrow's my birthday.
and fourth, and you can-
Well, no, it's not. We're saying it.
Yeah.
And then y'all bring people.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I'll-
Yep. Look, I got a ring. Ring something. Happy St. Patrick's Day. There'll be no me today. Who said that? Then I had problem. So they probably just don't have anything. Yeah, make my computer do it. Hey, yeah, let's get that. That was any cool class that they would keep.
Jab, I have been.
Yeah, so much stuff. I got to type in this. Yes, yeah, I'm gonna write it in. Type it. We just be careful with it. Then we'll get back to you. Uh-oh. I'm done for. That's what. That'd be everybody. I'm talking all push. I wasn't. Oh,
You don't have to know. Sit down. You can throw that away. No,
oh, this the way.
I didn't tell you. Stop. Stop. What are you wanting to do?
Remember you said go to my water bottle.
Stop.
So this is what it's. Okay.
You've got to stay in the seat until I tell you to get up. Because everybody needs to get up on the seat. They'll do whatever. We can't have all 10 of you, however many you need. getting up and just roaming the room, or roaming out, or going to get water, or going whatever, just back to the lane. I mean, you stop talking so much. Jordan and Renata, have a seat, stop talking.
See, I wish we could have done
Go get water.
that.
Jordan, in all seriousness, I need you to quit talking. Renata, face this way. Josh, is that your laptop I'm hearing? Chromebook I'm hearing? Turn the volume down. You need to be on my thing. How is it that you're logged in, but I don't see you up on my GoGuardian? So you're either one, log into somebody else's account, or two, you're doing some kind of software that keeps me from seeing what's on your Chromebook. Which are both violated. So what I need you to do, you need to take off the block you've got on, or I need you to log into the correct account, your account, whichever one it is, but it's one of the two. Okay, so I need to do that right now. Now, guys, I have to deal with enough ridiculous classes. I don't want one more to deal with. This class has been pretty decent. And I don't want to have to sit here and get on them over and over. So I need you to focus on, not talk over me, stop talking so much. If you could learn how to have a conversation where it doesn't interrupt the class, that would be one thing. But so far, you don't know how to do that.
Everybody make sure.
So, but that also doesn't mean that you can sit there and do that the whole class period. You have to do your work. That's why we make it. You have an assignment that you should be working on. You've got the two questions so far for this slide. Is the first one, 3 resources for Mexico. You can pick any of the 3 resources in Mexico that are on the resources list, not the land uses list, the resources list. Put them in as your answer. Doesn't matter to me which 3 you pick. You can pick any 3 that you want to pick, because there's more than 3. So you pick which. Now that means y'all are not going to all pick the same 3 resources. You can pick whichever 3 you want to. The second question is, what is most of the land in the Western United States used for? So on this picture, on this photo, when we look at the question, I said, come up this area right here. What's the main purpose of the main use of that? Well, if you don't know automatically, all you have to do is look over to your land use. What do you think it's used for? Which one of those is it used for? Livestock. Typically, that's where a lot of cows and goats and sheep and all that stuff, pigs, are farmed. We do that in Arkansas too, but it's especially prevalent in the Western United States. Okay, so livestock raising, especially cows. You know, the whole cowboy and ranching and all that stuff, that's where that takes place. So you can see some of that infected. And it's in Mexico, Arizona, Montana, those are all kind of cowboy kind of states. Then let's go ahead and go to the next question. This is the Eastern United States land resources or resources map. So we're just going to focus in on those resources. I need to bring it down just a little bit. You can even see the resources are listed there on the bottom right. So the questions for it: what's the majority of the land in the Eastern United States used for? Okay, so you look at your list. What do you think? What do you think most of that land is used for? Mostly commercial farming. So lots of farming goes on in the Eastern United States. That's what a lot of Arkansas, which Arkansas is on that. So you got lots of commercial farming there. Don't have nearly as many animal livestock raising areas. Of course, because this part of the United States has lots of rainfall. The western part of the United States doesn't have a lot of rainfall. So it's hard to grow crops out there because of the lack of water. I mean, you're coming in and disrupting the whole cloud. Next question was, why do you think there's little to no land use in southern Louisiana and Florida? So you look at southern Louisiana and southern Florida, and yes, there's not a lot of land use there. What do y'all think? What do y'all think is down? What's Louisiana and Florida both known for?
Oops.
Louisiana and Florida.
Yeah, catfish.
What are they known for? Think about it. Listen. Like the University of Florida, what is their mascot? Who knows? What's the mascot of the University of Florida? Like Arkansas is the Razorbacks. University of Florida Gators. Where do Gators live? What kind of territory do they live in? There you go, swamps. There's lots of swamps, lots of Everglades, lots of land that kind of has water on it most of the year. So swampy, Everglades kind of land that really doesn't have a lot of use. You can't really farm it. You know, you'd have to drain it all, which would be an ecological disaster if you did something like that. So they're very pretty. You have lots of natural habitat. What most people don't realize, swamps are the water filtration system of the world. So in other words, the water that goes into swamp water, if you've ever seen a swamp, has anybody ever actually been in a swamp? You know what I'm talking about? It's usually pretty smelly. The water's pretty gross, honestly. And the reason why is because I grew up beside a swamp in Rose City. Like Rose City at one time was a city. Rose City in North Little Rock. Okay. Rose City, if you don't know, if we looked at a map of Arkansas, like this is Arkansas right here. From this corner of the state down to Little Rock, and then from Little Rock down to this corner of the state, kind of make a triangle. That whole area was nothing but swamps. Nothing. I mean, Arkansas, a third of Arkansas was a big giant swamp 200 years ago. And so we have steadily drained it and cultivated it and built settlements here. Little Rock, North Little Rock, Jacksonville. This is all part of that swamp area. Sherwood, all swamp. What swamps do, they purify the water, they filtrate it. And then by the time the water passes through the swamp, it's clean again. Okay, so that's really, so swamps are very, very useful because they clean the water that we drink eventually. But you don't want to drink swamp water because it's in that process of being, that's why there's so much algae and things of that nature that purify the water. So swamps are actually very, very useful. A third of Arkansas was a swamp, you know, but we've gotten rid of most of it. Now, most of the swamps in Arkansas are gone. We typically do farming on them. So
It's raining? No. Yeah.
sounds like it. We're supposed to have storms on and off all day from what I understand.
May I hope the lights go out?
Maybe it's supposed to be a tornado something. Hey,
Well, it's just it's very unpredictable storms. We just can't. I honestly don't know. I haven't looked at the weather. Okay, stop. Now,
Yeah, we don't know what.
listen. A tornado watch is just saying we've got conditions that could possibly lead to a tornado. A tornado warning is we've actually seen. So, but a watch is not a warning. That's just saying we've got the kind of conditions that could create a tornado.
Have you ever been to that? Well,
it better not rain tomorrow.
It rained on. I don't believe it.
Last year rained on my day.
I don't believe tomorrow your birthday.
Okay, now listen. We're gonna watch some videos now with the time that we have left. 3 of the videos are on housing. We need to actually look at our housing section. Let me bring them up on the screen. This is on your ABE form. So we're going to watch this, how to throw that Adelaide, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. One of the Native American types of spears that they would throw. So we're going to look at that video in just a second, but we're also going to look at these types of homes, and we're going to see how you can build these homes. And then you've got some questions on them. Out of these types of homes, which one would you build? Out of these three types of homes, which one would you want to build and why? That's the first question. The second question asks, over those 5 types, pick 2 of these types of homes. Why do you think the Native Americans built their homes like that? And then the third one, there's 3 grass huts. And which of these types of homes do you think is the most durable, or the most, the one that might last longest? Because they're all 3 made out of grass. So that lets you know right there, they probably don't last super long period of time, but which one do you think might last the best? And this is all just you just thinking about it and watching the videos and answering that way. Then we've got these videos down here on how to build a teepee, how they built wattle and dab houses, and then other types of homes during the colonial period, whenever the Europeans came over. What kind of homes did they encounter with the Native Americans, and what do you think the Native Americans thought about colonial homes? They probably thought they were weird, or maybe they thought they were nice. I don't know. So you're going to give me a guesstimate on that. The first video is going to be this spear. So let's start with it.
So this is the atlatl, and this is what they call the dart. It predates the bow and arrow. People, it's really responsible for our survival as human beings. This tool has been used more in a longer duration than probably any other hunting tool that mankind's used. It's got a hook in the end here, and that's really the most important function of the atlatl. It's that hook. This hook or spur gives you amazing velocity. Basically, it's like
A lot of Native Americans use this kind of spear to hunt with.
So it's like you got 1, 2, and then all of a sudden you got this long joint out here, and it not only gives you more power, but also gives you more accuracy and control. This style, you've got 2 fingers that lock in there. You can also make them more simple. It's a stick, and you hold it like you're holding a baton. You grip it different ways. There's 1 finger, 2 fingers, baton. And the first part of the throw is you're just kind of dropping it over the throat, executing it, you're aiming. And then the last part of the throw, you're just putting all your force into it. So it looks something like this. So that's it. This thing is awesome.
Okay. So these videos are not long. They're very short. So your question that goes with that video, and hopefully, Coach, you can still hear me at home. Do you think you would be successful in throwing that type of spear? You think it would take a little while to learn how to throw it? So you need to write this down. This is your question. You need to be typing in your response. What types of things do you think you could use this type of spear for? What kind of hunting?
Kill it. Can we tell it?
Yep. James? Yep. You're typically going to want to go after smaller animals, probably animals that might not attack you back, like a deer. Even though deer can attack you, or smaller ones, even rabbits, any kind of smaller animal. If you attack bears with something like this, you probably better have several people who are with you hunting, so that many of you could attack the bear, because a bear is not going to be easily killed with just 1 spear like this, unless you hit it perfectly right in the heart. Yes. Yeah, I think they might not use the little sling part, but they might just use the spear itself to jab into the water and spear fish. I know that they did do that kind of fishing, which probably would be pretty hard, to be quite honest with you, than just having like a hook and a fishing line.
Bro, get on down like y'all want to go outside today.
Diamond. That's the kind of comment and outburst in class that I need to stop.
I'm going to.
Okay. So you can see it would be, listen, what's the big part of this, of that kind of weaponry too, though? What do you think? Why do you think this would be a good weapon for a nomadic traveling group of nomadic people? Listen, what advantage would having a weapon like that be? It's easily made. You can make more than one. You can replace it even if you break one. You know, you can make it yourself. Can anybody, like we of course use weaponry like guns and ammunition, but that's a high level thing. If my gun breaks and I've got a 12 gauge and a 22, if one of those were to break, do you think I can repair it? No, I can't. I wish I could. That would be a cool knowledge to have, but I'm not a gunsmith. I don't know how to repair my gun if it breaks. I have to take it into a gun shop and have them repair it. Because sometimes things break in the springs and things like that. If you're hunting with a spear like this, you made it yourself. You know exactly what to do to either make another one. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So that's one of the main advantages, is that you can make lots of them, and they're cost effective. Now you should be looking at your different houses there. So now we're going to watch some videos on these houses that might help you answer the question. So here's the first one. Once again, these are all pretty short videos. They won't take us long to go through them.
Well, one of the things you need to do is to spread these poles out a little further. That's going to give you more stability.
They're going to show you how they
The top up there, you need to put a rope around that. Every time you put a pole, you come around and tie it. And so by the time you're done up there,
temporary housing.
solid. It's not
That
going
means
to fall
Indian
apart.
costumes. That is not all these teepees.
I guess the first step is start taking it down.
This looks like a teepee. This is a teepee.
Happy to have Galen and his son's valuable assistance. The pioneers have to take the teepee down and start from scratch to build it correctly. They begin by removing the canvas and taking down the unsteady framework.
But you can see the teepees are pretty big. They want.
How many feet of rope do you think you need?
We're probably going to need about a good 20 foot. Or something like that. This is how we put it up with this rope.
Okay, yeah.
To begin, 3 wooden poles are lashed together near the top, so they can then be raised as a large tripod. This structure is now sturdy enough to act as the framework, while new poles are added and lashed together at the top.
Okay. Yeah, let's get these wider. Pull that out that way towards you a bit. There you go. Okay. The first pole, you'll put right between those going that way.
The wind was able to flop the canvas around and it just made it weak. So we're using more sticks to keep the canvas taut so that it will withstand the wind. Scoot it in.
Okay, now put that next one up.
Put it all around. All of a sudden, you know, he's whipping the rope around, cinching the poles tight, and I mean, it's genius.
Okay. It's not gonna get blown over so easy because it's secured up there now, so that those poles ain't gonna be, sliding back and forth.
Makes sense now, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure does.
With a sturdy framework in place, it takes all hands to hoist the unwieldy canvas up to the top of the teepee.
Get our stick put in here and then we'll
Put
drag
that
it.
in there and push that all the way up to the top.
Okay. This thing's heavy.
They work the canvas up the poles like a sail is raised on the mast of a boat.
Push that to the top. Okay.
Yeah, this is way sturdy now, isn't it? That's awesome.
Well done. We never would figure this out without their help.
Come on in.
Oh, heck yeah.
This is awesome.
The pioneers finally have a new place to call home.
Okay, so you can see that's another type of shelter. There's several different types of shelters that the Indians use, that the Native Americans use. Teepee is just the most traditional one that people think about. But
What's a key advantage of having a teepee? It's portable. You can put it up and take it down within a few hours, probably even less than an hour, especially if you know what you're doing. Like they didn't really know what the quote unquote pioneers that were there. They didn't really know how to build a teepee. So they got some actual Native Americans that had done it before that knew that from their ancestry knew how to build it and showed them. And it's pretty sturdy, but it's also portable. You can take it down, move it with you, especially if you got some animals that if you've got a donkey or a mule, you can tie all those sticks up, tie it to the back of the mule, and he can just drag it along with you. A mule is looks like a horse. It's a pack animal, something that is very strong. And like a donkey is like a small horse kind of creature. And if you breed a horse and a donkey, you get a mule. And a mule is very strong. Donkeys are real kind of cantankerous. They bite. They don't listen. You can't train them very well, but a mule is very trainable. But a mule is sterile. So the only way you can get a mule is to breed a horse and a donkey. That's the only way you can get them. But the reason why they're sterile is because a horse has I don't remember how many, 63 chromosomes, and a donkey has 62. So when you breed them, they're almost always sterile. There are a few instances where mules have been able to have babies, but it's very, very rare. And so you would have, like I said, donkeys aren't nearly as strong, but they're super durable. Like donkeys they don't need a lot of grass, and they can walk a long time. Horses are really fast and strong, but they're not super durable. They get tired easy, and they can die easier. So like a donkey's not very strong, but he can live on a lot less. A mule is very strong and very durable, and they don't need to have nearly as much food as a horse does. A horse needs lots and lots of food. So that's why I like back in the Western days, Indians typically rode what's called a palomino. Palomino is a smaller horse, and it typically lived off the grass, off of the little small patches of grass in the desert, in the plains. They didn't have to have near as much food. Most soldiers in the cavalry of the United States Army rode quarter horses. And quarter horses are huge, and they're big, and they're strong, but they need lots and lots of food. So whenever they went out to try to chase the Indians across the plains to try to catch them, the Indians' palominos would outrun the quarter horse. Even though the quarter horses were faster, they couldn't run as far. The quarter horses would die in the desert, whereas the palominos, they were fine in the desert. So, all those things come into play. So if you're farming, whatever it is that you might be doing, those things all come into play with what kind of animal you might want, a donkey, a mule, what kind of horse, whatever. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next house. These are some wattle and dab houses. Like I said, all these videos are real short.
So the Mississippians had several styles of houses that they lived in from the several centuries that they lived here. One of the most common style houses was a wattle and daub hut like you see behind me here. The way it's constructed is very simple, and it's actually quite common around the world. You simply take some poles and hammer them in the ground, and then take some smaller limbs and weave them in back and forth in between the upright posts. You then put your structure, your A-frame on top of the roof. Usually there's a central fire in the middle of the house. And then you take a mixture of clay and grass, moss, mix this together, and you pack it on. Basically, you daub it on. The wattle is the woven limbs in between. This is the common style of house that they would have lived in up until about the time of their leaving. So looking on the inside of the wattle and daub hut, you'll notice that there's benches that surround the walls. These act as seating During the daytime, on a day when the weather may not be so great, you can sit in here and it's nice and cool. At nighttime, these would become the beds. You may notice a few holes in the walls. Wall and daub houses would have to have work done on them every so often, simply because of the nature of the material that they're built from. Over in this one corner, we have a mortar and pedestal type grinding implement that would have been used for making cornmeal. Basically, you could mash this up and it would bust corn kernels. They also use stone grinding implements. Wood doesn't last in the archaeological record as easily as stone, and so we don't have as many of these from really old excavations as we do more from historical time period. In the center of the floor, you'll notice there's a fire pit. Usually these are molded clay. It's almost like they're building a piece of pottery in a hole so that you have a molded clay structure for holding your firewood. And directly above this in the ceiling, you will see that there is a chimney. The air pressure from the rise in heat would actually keep rain from coming through this hole as long as you have a fire burning continually. You can also see how the rafters are put in with the main beams supporting the rafters with the thatch roof on top. A lot of times there will be clay packed around the top of this opening to keep sparks from catching the structure on fire.
But you see, whenever he said this is during the Mississippi period, this is the later periods. They're called Mississippi because these are the type of Indians that typically lived in Little Rock along the Arkansas River, and of course it leads to the Mississippi River, and the kind of Indians that lived like the Quapaw. They built homes similar to this that lived in Little Rock. The Chickasaw and the Choctaw that lived up in the Tennessee area, Mississippi area, that's their kind of home. So what does that tell you? What does their kind of home that they built tell you that's different about the teepees that other Native Americans built? What does that tell you about their lifestyle? What does a teepee tell you about that Indian tribe? They're probably on the move a lot. They have to build it, stay there for a few days, a few weeks, and then they take it down and move and go somewhere else. In other words, the people who built teepees are typically following some kind of food, a buffalo, deer, whatever, okay? They're following their food and they go with it. And so they just roam the countryside and they just stay up with the food. And they typically are more meat eaters because they're hunters. What does the Wattle and Daub kind of home tell you? They're putting much more effort into it. Can you pick up and move that house? No. You do have to, and you have to repair it a lot. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to build it, a lot of time, a lot of effort to upkeep it. What probably are those kind of Indians doing? They're probably more farming type of Indians. Now, I'm sure they go hunting as well, but they're not moving with the animals. They stay in one spot. So those Indians are going to hunt. They're going to farm more. They're going to depend upon their crops more than on following a herd of animals and things like that. So the different kind of houses tell you something different about the tribe that built those houses. Told you about who they were, what they were about, whether they were nomadic or whether they were stationary, whether they were more hunter and gatherers or whether they might have been more of a farmer. So the type of house and structure that they lived in could tell you a lot about that tribe. We got one more video, I believe. These are homes that Indians would have lived in during colonial times.
My name is Lucy. What type of homes did Native Americans live in during colonial times?
Hi, I'm Philip Wynn here at Wampanoag Indigenous Program at Plymouth Plantation. I'm a Mashpee Wampanoag from Cape Cod. And what were our houses, our Witu built out of? Mostly out of what the land could give us. So some areas you would see most every family having 2 seasonal but permanent households. One household, which would be on the coastal area, no more than a mile off of a body of water, whether that be something as small as a herring run stream or the Atlantic Ocean itself. And sometimes that land would offer some cattail reeds, which is an aquatic reed which would work really good in the heat and in the rain, but not like this bark. It wouldn't uphold the weight of any snow, so it would be a purely seasonal home used about 2/3 out of the year, from the spring to the fall. As long as you saw families planting their vegetables in their gardens next to the body of water where the land was more fertile, and the meat that you would be eating from that time of the year would be of that water, you know, that waterfowl, those duck and the geese and the fish and the shellfish. And then come wintertime, you'd be moving into mostly all bark-covered houses, which our people, the Wampanoag people, would move at the most 1 mile to 5 miles inland into a wooded valley area. And that would be a very tight-knit, close community because no gardens would be separating any families. So sometimes our houses would get up to 40 feet wide and up to 120 to 300 feet long, big enough for an entire clan or an entire family line. And those houses sometimes could stay as hot as you wanted them to. Sometimes up to 75 or 80 degrees if you want it to be in the middle of winter. Just by the shape of the home being dome-shaped and round, and having the heat follow the surface of its container, having no still stagnant corners for the heat to stay and rest and fill. The heat was always circulating around inside of a home. And most of the living was pretty relaxed and laid back in the wintertime because no gardens to look after. The men would just go out and get red meat, you know, mostly a deer, just as they needed it. Sometimes bringing back that deer to that big household was perfect rations, splitting up about 100 pounds of meat within a family, within a household of about 60 or 90 people was good enough to divvy that pounds up and do it again every other day. Eat fresh meat. Stay nice and warm.
So there you go. There's another style of housing for them. When you go back to your AV form, interesting how they would actually live in two different types of houses. Those are the typically what the Europeans dealt with. So they'd have a house for the planting season, the spring and the fall, when they would plant and harvest and grow crops. Why would they not think about this? Why would they not build their homes right beside the stream or the river, so that they could have easy access to the water? They would build it up to sometimes a mile away. Why? Huh? What do you think? Flood. Yeah. Rivers. We don't hear. You don't ever hear about don't ever. You seldom hear about floods in the United States that devastate communities, because what have we built in the United States over the last 100 years? We've built locks and dams. Y'all heard of locks and dams, right? Most of them are to generate hydroelectricity. That's why we build them. But they also provide stability for the river. If you don't know, rivers are called meandering because they change courses all the time. Well, that's really inconvenient. You've built houses near enough to the river, and the river decides to change course. Now, if you're an Indian village and you built a fairly temporary structure, it's not that big a deal to lose your home. But if you built homes like we build, close enough to the water, and then the water changes course and comes and floods your home, that's a much more difficult thing to deal with. So we actually keep the rivers pretty much on the same path that they've been flowing for the last couple of 100 years. But even like back in 1812, there was an earthquake that hit on the New Madrid fault line. And if you don't know, the New Madrid fault line runs through northeast Arkansas. So Arkansas has a fault line just like California does. And that earthquake was so powerful that it actually changed the course of the Mississippi River. And the Mississippi River flowed backwards for 3 days during that earthquake. That's how powerful that earthquake was. And the Mississippi River completely changed its path because of that earthquake. So that's why I think it's pretty cool. And it's pretty cool that during the wintertime, they would just build one large home that their entire tribe would stay in. So that's one of the reasons why the Indian tribes were so close, so they had a true communal living experience. Could you imagine living with your family of 50, 60, 70, 80 people all in one house? Do y'all ever have fights with your family on Thanksgiving Day or when you get together?
Every time we like just get together and do something.
Right. So think about having, do you think maybe your families, maybe all of our families could get along a little bit better if we all had to live with each other 2 or 3 months out of the year in one big giant home? I think it actually would force people to have to get along a little bit better because you depend upon each other. Because think about it, whenever you go out and you kill a deer and you bring that deer back, that deer is not just for your immediate, for your wife and for your children. It's for everybody's wives and everybody's children. They share it. So maybe you got the deer that day, but in 2 days from now, you may not be the one who found the deer and killed it, but you're still going to get to eat because somebody else found another deer and killed it and brought it back. So there's some definite pros and cons to living all together like that, but they did it for survival. There was always somebody there, that could do the things that are necessary. Get the wood, keep the fires going, go out and go hunting. And, somebody was always there to take care of babies and all that kind of stuff. If somebody got sick, there was somebody there to help. So there was always the availability. So I know it's difficult, but it's actually pretty cool too. So, any questions about that? Remember, you should be answering those questions. What do you think the Native Americans thought about the types of homes that colonists lived in? What types of homes the Native Americans lived in during colonial times? How is this home that's in that video, the Wattle and Daub home, how is it different than the teepee? Is it better? Is it worse? Might be depending on what you need it for. Do you think that you could build a teepee? What's an advantage of a teepee? What's the disadvantage? Just to answer those questions. I'm going to be super generous whenever I go and look at this. I'm just going to see that you gave me some kind of reasonable answer. As long as you gave me a reasonable answer, I'm good. I'm not going to sit there and go and be super, super strict when I grade this. I'm just looking that you answered the question and that you answered it with something reasonable. Defend it. But if you put I don't know, or if you leave it blank, or if you just put something stupid in there, you're going to get it wrong. So just interact with it, and you can make 100 on this way easier than even the other one. Just answer the question, and I'll be looking at those in the next few days. Probably honestly next week over spring break. Okay. Any questions? You need to be. We're late. We need to be moving over to intervention. There was an email or something about intervention. Okay, here's the notes. Okay, Mariana.
Come here real quick. Okay, here's what I got back from this tournament. You had 2 Chromebooks kept out. You didn't turn in the Chromebook from last year. I'm not. Well, where's it out? Okay. So she said that that you brought one in this morning. Okay. So last week, when it broke all last week. Okay. Well, here's my dilemma. Okay. I posted last week that Friday, March 12th, was the final day. Turn in and you've had 8 weeks. You had 8 weeks to do any assignment that I find. And now, once those are all done and the grades final, now you're coming to me after all that time and saying, I don't have a Chromebook. So that's my problem. Because you should have been doing all of this last week. If you didn't have a Chromebook last week, either you had a Chromebook last week and it worked, or you didn't have a Chromebook last week and it didn't work. And if you didn't have a Chromebook last week and it didn't work, then you should have came and said, I've got all these assignments that I need to get done. And I need to get them done this week because they're due by Friday. So I need to borrow one. You could have come in, you can use that, you could have used that computer during class. So this is my issue, is that there were other options that you could have taken except waiting until the week that everything's already closed. And now going, I still, looking at your grade and going, oh, I need to do some makeup work. And not going and not accepting the responsibility of your responsibility of making sure you had access to either Chromebooks. And like I said, I've got a spare computer that can be used any day by anybody to do work on. You could have done that every day. So you had access to a computer. You have to tell people what's going on. And if something's not working, you have to let us know. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to give you a few bumps. But at the end of the day, you are the one responsible to let us know what's going on. If something's not working, if something got stolen, you can't just wait until the very end and then think that that's a reasonable excuse. That, oh, I don't have to be held accountable. Because you still have to be held accountable for not turning your work on time, for not making provisions before the deadline. The deadline was Friday. And I even technically left it up over the whole weekend before I took it off. And now the grading due, now you're panicking because you didn't take care of the business that you should have taken care of well before March 12th. Now you're coming in on March 17th, 5 days after the deadline, and asking for more time. You should have been coming into meeting like last week before the deadline and asking for more time, not the week after. So I'm going to go through there, see what kind of little bumps I can give to put, because you've got 56 or 58, whatever it was, to put you over into the 60% range so that you don't fail. But you're going to have to be happy with the season because that's going to be a gift. You know what I'm saying? Get your stuff. If you need to use this computer, use your computer. Don't sit here and not do something and then blame everything else because you have access to things that you can use. Okay? And get your keep up. If you can't keep up with a Chromebook and get stolen or whatever because you don't keep up with them, then be a day user. When you come in the morning, you check one out, and then on your way to your bus, you check it back in. Okay? Because that's an option as well. Don't take it home. All right. So I'm gonna help you out a little bit. I'm not gonna help you out much, but I'm not gonna sit here and getting to do makeup work is not the answer because you should have done that before March 12th. Whenever I put it, I sent out emails to you and to your parent. I put it in stream. I put it on the Google Classroom. I talked about it all 9 weeks. And it's the same thing for this 9 weeks. You have 8 weeks to do every assignment. Like the assignments that we're doing today, you will be able to do them as we get out of school sometime around May 4th, sometime around this week. You will be able to do any assignment up to May 28th. So any assignment that I assign, starting now, this week's assignment, and everything we do in April and everything we do in May, you'll be able to do any of them all the way up until at least this day or this, one of these days, depending on when we get out the final day. But definitely without 100% to the 21st and maybe till the 28th or 26th. So sometime between the 21st and 26th, you're going to be able to do any assignment that I find during this assignment. I don't suggest you do that because you'll have 16, 18, 20 assignments by that point, and you don't want to be having to do 20 assignments this week. You know what I'm saying? That's not good. But I'm just saying, I give 8 weeks to do 8 weeks worth of work. But once that 8th week is over, everything that was timed is over. And you need to take care of that during that time period. And that's why I'm harsh and hold you accountable, because you've had more than enough time to get these things worked out. So if you can't get your computer in the next day or two, because the tech people come and pick it up Tuesday and Thursday, so they'll pick it up tomorrow, you need to get on that computer right there and do your work so that you're caught up. And that's one of the reasons why I do it that way, so that everybody has plenty of chances to get their work. I don't say we got March 17th work, and if you don't get it done on March 17th, it's a zero. I don't do that. You'll have us until at least May 21st, maybe even up to May 28th to get March 17th work done. Lord, that's 2 months. From March 17th to May 28th, it's 2 months and a week. That's 9 to 10 weeks from now. So you need to accept your part of being responsible and determine, I'm not going to do it again this 4th November. I'm going to make it, bigger. But it's up to you. You can redo the work until you get an A on it. Let me ask you this question before you go. Would you like to make an A this time week? The 4th time week? Hey, it's up to you. You can make an A. All right. You just have to do the work. And the work's easy. You know that. It's not hard. There's nothing I do that's hard. You just got to do it. Okay? So let's start tomorrow on a new track. And let's get the work done. If you need to use that computer, no problem. Still up and use it. It's there for you. Okay?
Well, mommy works now. It's very to Germany. That's the Germany. Yeah, I thought it was.
Hey, Tolkien, I hope you can hear me. You can go ahead and log out, buddy.
Well, and I knew